Alrighty, so we're going to look at Storm. Big Percheron.
He's doing so good too. They're all doing so good.
Oh, good. Oops. Let me share the screen. There we go. Oh, this is a long video.
Yeah. So he got 10 minutes. Well, I think it might have been closer to 15 minutes to the right on the long reins, and then 10 minutes to the left, and then about a 30-minute ride. So
Okay.
once I start, I can't stop it unless I go back over to the camera. So
Yeah, that's fine. No, and we'll just kind of move forward and back as needed.
He did really, really well. I'm very pleased. The weather was better.
Dirty monkey.
Oh my God, it's disgusting. I almost didn't put his wraps on because his legs were really gross, but
so I'm just going to go into about 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. He's doing maybe a little better picking up his hind feet. We talked about the toe dragging before.
Oh, of course, I found the moment he's going to pee.
Actually, I don't think he pees there. I think he pees a couple minutes later.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm like, are you gonna pee or not?
Yeah.
So he does pee. Actually, I think he ends up peeing twice while we're working. But he maybe he does pee right here. I don't remember. But at any rate, again, a lot more authentically long neck. Much more relaxed. He's not stopping like he was in the last time I recorded. So we're doing a little better with maintaining speed, even on the tiny circle. Of course, I say that I have to encourage him forward, but no, I'm liking the leg placements as well. Like he seems to be changing, where the legs are landing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he's kind of on the same track as Tally with some of the improvements that he's making.
Yeah, he looks steadier, and when he is going, he looks more rhythmic in his walk. Like he's starting to kind of get the coordination of where his legs go. And this is a little slow here, but what he was doing just a minute ago was looking pretty good. So he might just be, but he looks more engaged. He looks a little bit wider in his hind legs, a little bit wider in his front legs. So he's working those oblique muscles coming around the tiny circle.
He's a little inconsistent in speed, but I also feel like I'm noticing, still noticing changes in like you said, the leg placements and stuff. So I'm not super worried about a little bit of the inconsistency. I also feel like he had a couple kind of big clunks, and I think while I was riding, he was clicking. Like I kept hearing this little teeny click noise in his front left shoulder. So, which is the one he always dumps on. So that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah, I would say, and you find over time, staying on the same size circle, he's gradually getting more forward and more forward. I mean, it's still a work in progress. He loses the
very
rhythm.
Gradual. Again, tons of blinking. Like they are all just blinking like crazy. And super soft ears. Yeah. And he also hasn't given me quite as much trouble catching him. Not that he's ever that difficult, but the last couple times I've gone out to get him, he's either let me catch him wherever he is, or he's only stepped away and then stopped. Like there was a while where when I was riding, pretty much doing only riding, he would kind of make me come after him a little bit. Like I'd have to follow him around for a little while before he would let me.
He's like, yeah, not so much. Don't feel like it.
And that was a funky release poop thing. I don't know what that was. Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been one of those shoulder changes. Sorry,
And he picked
I
up
forgot.
speed right after that for part of the circle anyway. That's the tiny uphill right there.
Oh,
it is higher on the right side to the left. So that spot is the one where he tends to get sticky and slow down.
okay. So I just kind of want to see where he's ending, going to the right. So this is like the last minute or so. Yeah, a lot of muscle changes around the shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah, his neck is actually more consistent in this video than the last one too. So that was 15 minutes one direction. Did you
Close
find he
to it.
was pretty tired by the end?
Um,
Or did he get
yeah, I did longer to the right because that's been the difficult direction. And he was sort of beginning to kind of peter out a little bit, but not so much that I thought that it was like, oh, we probably shouldn't do that. So he was still doing well enough that I didn't think we had overdone it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't want to, you're doing a great job. He's doing a great job. It's definitely a work in progress. Oops, I wanted to just see kind
The
of the
end of the
last,
left. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's still really difficult for him. So if you can get 15 minutes one way or both ways, go for it. Um, it's just like it's not going to hurt him. It's just difficult for him still.
Yeah.
And you could do long reins on a day you can't ride.
He always slips in a pea spot.
Oh,
Like, really,
I
dude, you
didn't,
gotta
I
walk
didn't
through
know.
there. um, there's a nice lick and chew. There was some really good, authentic, like licking and chewing and mouth work going on.
Yeah, so I would say steady as she goes. Keep working on the small circles in the halter, both directions. Do you feel the difference when you ride yet
Yes.
or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I do. And I've been trying to do at least the long range twice a week and then riding one of those times. What's interesting with the riding is it's pretty funny because the last time we talked, you were like, well, just let him wander.
Mm-hmm.
And then he chooses a circle to the left.
He will. Well, and that's just it. When you let them wander and you keep the back level and the neck straight, the first thing that's going to happen is the horse is going to turn in the direction that the skeleton is already going, which is also where the body weight's going.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you can wind up on these super tiny turns because they're trying to lean on one shoulder or the other. And if you keep the neck straight and the back level and let them do it, what you'll feel is they'll make this tiny turn, tiny turn, tiny turn until they stabilize, find the change you're looking for, and then suddenly they can pull themselves out of the turn. And so it's like that's where the body is going, which is why the steering is hard.
Yeah.
So if you kind of go in the direction that the skeleton and the weight is already pulling you, but you're focused on stabilizing rotation and alignment through the midline, then all of a sudden the problem becomes the way forward.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not fighting where the body is going, you're just helping him stabilize through the midline while the body is going where it's going anyways.
Yeah.
And then if he chooses a right turn, you know he's gotten through the initial problem, falling left, and he goes, yeah, I think I would feel more stable if I could organize myself to go to the right.
Yeah.
And that's the main reason of sort of doing more of a passenger ride, is because sometimes the dysfunction is so strong and has so much force that you can't keep the spinal improvement that you want and steer.
Yeah.
It's
That
just
makes
too
sense.
much force.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go, if it's that much force, I don't need to steer to improve the alignment and stabilize the rotation and even to get engagement.
Yeah.
I don't need the steering for those internal uses of the body. So if he's just going to keep falling left, and that's where when I, did this with Rafalco, my ex-dressage horse, we went left for a month, right? He just could not overcome this strong dysfunctional habit of falling to the left.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening over the month was we went from these tight left turns to bigger left turns, straighter lines, and then suddenly one day he chooses to go right, right? And
Yeah.
I kind of pushed the experiment with him because he's my horse. Um, but I could have started steering to the right after maybe the first week of letting him just go left, left, left. That
Yeah.
it would have been appropriate, it would have been fine, but I sort of pushed the experiment to see what he would choose. And it took almost a month for him to choose to go to the right. That's how
Hmm.
strong his pattern was in his body.
Yeah.
Right. But we made huge improvements to his stability, his engagement, the change of muscle tone, the use of the spine, even though we went left for about a month, no big deal.
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
working on a straight midline, which is true left or right, a level saddle, true left or right, the straight neck to the spine. So it took him that long to work through layers of habitual contraction around his left front leg. His left front leg
Yeah.
always went towards the midline on left turns. So it took him a long time to figure out, oh, my left leg could go the other way
Yeah.
and work through all the muscle tightness and restriction. And that's what most people say is if I didn't steer, my horse would just spin around in a little tiny circle. I go, well, that's because that's what they're doing. Whether you're steering or not, if you
Yeah.
don't steer and that's what they do, then obviously the problem has not been resolved yet
Yeah.
by steering,
Yeah.
right? They're just retaining the problem, even though you think you're fixing it because you're steering. The truth is, if you don't steer and they revert right back to these tiny little turns, then we haven't really resolved the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I said with him in this round pen, it doesn't matter if he goes left, 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 right, right, right. But
Yeah.
you see, your focus, you're much more stable because you're not thinking about steering.
Yeah.
You've got a better neck alignment and more awareness of your level seat because you're not steering.
Yeah.
So even with the bit in his mouth, he's dropping the pole less, he's curling the neck less, he looks much more stable. He does better under saddle than the long reins. So I would still keep the long reins kind of minimal
Okay.
and then spend much more of your time riding because kind of like Bell, he needs the rider's weight.
Yeah.
And you are like barely enough weight for this horse. Like
Yeah.
you have to really think when you're on him. The more you make your muscles without leaning forward or back, losing your vertical alignment, the thing that would help him the most is making your body muscles feel like dead weight.
Yeah.
So I think my little go-to thought is to make my body feel like a medicine ball. I had another client I was working with, and I love this description. She goes, oh, it's that feeling when I first get in the bathtub of just
Nice. Yeah.
letting
Like
go.
sinking. Yeah.
Yeah. And that heavy, heavy muscle use will maximize your body weight, which
Yeah.
it will really help him stabilize his back and hindquarter
Yeah.
when you're riding. But he's a lot like Bell, that the long reins are going to be the longer term project.
Yeah.
Unlike Bell, I think he needs it. That's where he's more like Tally.
Yeah.
I think he gets so unstable if you didn't do the long rein warm up it would be much harder to get done what you're doing under saddle.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy with the progress. And I think that maybe what I'll do is I'll do long range longer on the day I don't ride. And
There
then
you
just shorten
go.
it back up on the day I ride.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and on the days you don't ride, you could do 20, 30 minutes each way of long range
Okay.
if he can
Yeah.
maintain forward the whole time.
Yeah.
Because he is finding the coordination much more. At this point, it looks more like he's struggling with the strength of it.
Yeah.
Not that he doesn't know the chord, and that's what this distraction is too. It's a little bit of him maybe feeling a bit tired or a little bit wobbly or a little unstable as he's making these changes. And it's not whatever's happening outside the round pen.
Yeah. No, I
It's
know that.
yeah. And then I like that you're just taking a bend, taking a turn, getting his mind back in the game.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
You know what? Is this the right ride? Did I load the right one? Now
I
I'm
was going to
wondering.
say he kind of did that last time.
I know. Now I'm questioning myself whether this is the same ride or not.
Let me go back a little bit. I don't think you were steering in the earlier part of this ride.
Let me. Hmm. Because I know I uploaded that one and
Do you remember what you were wearing?
basically the same thing.
Yeah. Well, you don't have your riding skirt on.
No, it was warm. It's been the days that I've been working him has been actually more comfortable. So
Yeah, and I think the last video we looked at you riding Storm, I'm pretty sure you had your riding skirt on
I
when
don't
you were steering. So I
remember. I'm
think
gonna
this
have
is
to
the
double
correct
check,
video.
but at any rate,
See, that's starting to look pretty good.
yeah. But he was
So,
coughing this past time when I rode, and I didn't see that in the video. It's possible you skipped it, but because he was still doing the same, head neck twisting stuff.
and that's fine. I mean, you're going to have all kinds of interesting things as he changes, but what you're really looking for is even without steering, you should feel an increase in the stability, more time with the neck long, whether it's long and low, with less curling. So like there, I would, lighten the reins. That was
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah. So it's you're kind of looking at percentage of time in either resorting to the old habit or exploring the new habit. The greater the percentage of time he has exploring the changes and the new habit, the more weird, wonky, crazy things happen.
yeah.
And I just kind of chalk it up to it's a process of change and it'll come and go. If something really sticks around like coughing, okay, maybe you need the vet. But if it's sort of a deep cough now and again and then it goes, I sort of go, I have no idea what happened, but something
Well,
changed.
he did it while we were riding, and that was one of the first times I had ever noticed him doing it, and it was a really deep cough.
Yeah, sometimes that can happen when the serratus muscles, like as the whole barrel is relaxing and the back is relaxing, you can have a change in muscle tone that affects the pressure on the lungs, and they can suddenly have kind of a deep cough. It doesn't last long, it's just here and there.
Well, but would that happen when I'm not riding though? Because
Hmm.
Amanda texted me and said that she had noticed that he was coughing, and she said it's not frequent, but it's enough that I've gone, he coughed again.
That I would watch. It's
Okay.
mostly a change of muscle. Like if it's related to his balance, it'll really only happen when you're riding him.
Okay. That's what I thought, and that's why I wanted to kind of clarify, but
Yeah.
well, I can't find the other videos. If there was another one, I still think this is probably the last ride and not the most recent one, but I don't know where it went. If Unless that's it.
Sorry, I'm going a bit later than I had planned, so I have.
Oh, it's okay. I don't want to keep you any longer than
No, I need to wrap it up because I hadn't planned for quite this long, but I
okay.
did want to see all three horses. The yawning is really good. So what I'm seeing is overall, I wouldn't change what you're doing. I wouldn't add steering. I would just level and straight and forward in this little area, flat ground, contained area. Spend the greater percentage of your time as often as you can riding. If you feel you need the warm up on the long reins, then do that because he's
Okay.
still struggling with stability. But you may find you can alternate long rein days from riding days. You can play
Okay.
with that too. Like maybe once, just like we said, try long reins before you ride bell, maybe once and see how it goes. Maybe once try not doing groundwork and just getting on storm and riding and see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he's distracted and anxious, you know that's not the right day.
Yeah.
But if he's pretty reasonable and everything says yes, then maybe try having days where you only ride him. Because again, when you have the wigglediness of Tally and the whole transition, drafty transition like Bell, you kind of play with it and see.
Okay.
Overall, I wouldn't push more time on the long reins unless you're going to ride. And I would push for as much time as possible riding.
Okay. Well,
Because I,
my goal has been to try to work him twice a week. Riding twice a week is challenging just because it does take longer. When I can just throw the halter now, I don't even
hmm
need the bridle. I can just grab the halter and the reins and just pop into the pen. I try to wrap his legs anyway, but if they're too disgusting, then I don't. But that's rare when I do that. So,
So maybe try, if it's 2 days a week consistently, do one day just on the long reins and do another day just riding
okay. And
and
if
sort
I'm
of
doing
see.
that, 15 minutes each way would be plenty or enough.
I usually shoot for a minimum of 40 to 45 minutes of work
Okay.
because kind of part of what happens is it still takes him a while. He's much faster now at not resorting to his old habit, but he's not yet stable or really comfortable with the changes you're looking for.
Yeah.
It's a Fitbit game.
Yeah.
Every step counts.
Counts.
So if he can go 5 minutes more or 10 minutes more on the days
Then
you're there already to work him,
then it's beneficial.
you get a much bigger benefit. Like for some horses, the best work was the last 5 minutes of 30,
Yeah.
but it took that long
Long.
for the horse to really work through the habit or the challenges or the figuring out part. That it was only maybe the last 2, 3, 5 minutes of a 30-minute direction that the horse goes, ah, I got it.
Found it.
Right. So you might push it like on a day you have time, aim for seeing what would happen if I did 30 minutes each way of groundwork,
Yeah.
right? What would happen if I stayed on him for an hour? And then you always know you're going to start off with the worst, biggest challenge, and it should get better as you go.
Yeah.
Then the question is, if it keeps getting better, how long do I go for this horse?
Yeah.
And as soon as it's too long, they take a nosedive back in the direction of getting worse in their
Yeah.
balance or their
Yeah.
use. So that's what tells me it's a 20-minute or a 30-minute or a 10-minute window is it goes bad, bad, good, 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 oop, bad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But sometimes if I don't go 30 minutes, I feel like I'm slogging forever and not really getting any changes.
That
And
makes sense.
sometimes that difference of just going from 10 minutes to 30 minutes, the last 20 minutes is when he really starts to get it.
Yeah.
And then
And
you'll
I
see.
have had those experiences where like I was working tally one time and we hit the end of 10 minutes and I'm like, I can't stop. Like I could tell she was like right on the edge of something. I don't don't
Yeah.
exactly know what, but it was like the next like 3 or 4 minutes were just like, you could tell it really clicked for her. So it made sense to, keep going. So I think I'll
Yes.
experiment without using the timer on the days I'm on the ground and just let him roll and kind of tell me how long he can go. And then on the days when I ride, I'll stick to a little bit shorter and, because I'll have to mind my time a little more anyway. So,
Hmm.
well, very good. This has been super helpful.
Yeah. Excellent. Okie dokie. Let me stop the share. And no, on a good track for all of them. I wouldn't change the training strategy. It's just little tweaks here and there for every horse. Either add in a little or add the next challenge or stay with
Yeah,
what you're. But I wouldn't do any drastic changes on the strategies
good,
that are
cool,
working. Yeah,
good.
because they're coming
Exciting.
along.
I know. It's really exciting. So, and I will try to ride. Oh, I think I can get him in on Wednesday and I'll try to get that loaded for you.